Hi and welcome. So today we have Suzanne Styles, the certified life and business success strategist, best-selling author, speaker and trainer for all over the world, and a radio host. Today, she's going to be talking to us and providing us strategic insights into our past, present, and future, how it will help our business using the 365 PIN code. Hi, Suzanne, and welcome, and thank you for being here.
Oh, hi, Kim. It's absolutely fabulous to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
It's wonderful to see you. I'm so curious about this 365 PIN code, but before I go into it, can you let our viewers know who you are, what you do, and what got you on this journey?
Right. Well, my name is Suzanne Styles, and I'm currently a strategic life and business success coach. But I didn't start out that way. So I started out my journey because I never finished high school. I started out my journey doing really sort of menial, lower end paid jobs and working my way up into the corporate advertising world and actually having a success trajectory that I could never have anticipated, considering that, I didn't even have a high school diploma. Mm-hmm. I went from the corporate world of outdoor and airport advertising and opened my own really successful advertising business, which I had for 11 years and sold to a listed company in South Africa. And whilst I was doing the changeover, I got the opportunity to get involved with a massive project, or what should have been a massively financially successful project, and completely blew it. Lost absolutely everything. Together with my husband, we lost our house, we lost cars, we lost money. So probably just slightly over the $1 million mark, which was a big loss on the financial side. And then losing our home and having to start again in our 40s, which is not an easy thing to do at any age. And I've got to tell you, the older you are, the less enthusiastic you are about having to start over again, that's for sure. And on this journey, because it was linked to personal development and your own personal growth, we couldn't work out why it didn't work. We were doing the work, we were putting in the input, and we started a radio show which was dedicated to life and business success for small businesses. And at the time, it was the only show of its kind in the country. And through the show, we got to work with some of the most fabulous personal and business development gurus from around the world. And as a result, we attended some of their free and their paid for, their upsold trainings. And it came to our attention over about 3.5 years of attending these trainings that there were many, many people that attended these trainings, diligently applied the methodologies, did the work, had the faith, and it just didn't work for them. The results didn't materialize. And a lot of people at that stage would just go, oh, this is a lot of rubbish. This doesn't work. It's a lot of nonsense. And, I've wasted all this money. But we knew that it did work and that the principles were sound and that training was sound. And the material, a lot of it goes back to books written like The Richest Man in Babylon and Napoleon Hill's books. And you know that these things work. So why wasn't it working for some people? And why was some of it not working for us even? So it led us on an absolute fabulous quest of research and writing. And Chris, my husband, who's my business partner as well, as you know, Kim, he's a research scientist by training. And he believed that, if you look at all these universal laws, these laws are exactly what they say. They are laws, so they must work. They must be able to be applied. But then what else is it for individuals that just doesn't work? And this is what we looked at through a seriously in-depth study of your own unique PIN code. Now, it is basically linked to numerology, which could be considered a pseudoscience. A lot of people don't believe in it. But with Chris's scientific training and his research background, we've been researching hundreds and hundreds of people, including famous people, politicians, and people all around the world, analysing their dates of birth, analysing their names, and then coming back to them with strategic insights initially in their past, because they can absolutely relate to areas within their past where things happened, whether they were significantly difficult or negative events, or absolutely fabulously exciting events, you know, births, marriages, success in business, and actually introducing them to it so that they understand that if we can pinpoint this, and, you know, I'm working with a lady in Kazakhstan at the moment, you know, and if I can pinpoint certain parts of her history, we can actually help you plan strategically how to handle what is coming your way on an energetic level, on a vibrational level. So you might have this great plan and you want to execute it next year, but it's like planting seeds in the deepest, darkest, coldest winter ever, and then wondering why your seeds don't grow. And basically, this is what we've been doing for the past 3 years on the research level, to put 365 pin code together. And the reason we've called it 365 is we also don't want anybody we work with to be reliant on us from a coaching perspective on an ongoing basis. So it's an annual plan. And, you know, yes, it's probably beneficial to work with us for a year, but then going forward, you can receive the plan, which is sort of diary based. You know, this is the months, this is when it would be good to do something, and you can then go it, you know, you can go it on your own, but you would have had a unique period with us where we've showed you how to just understand the energies. It's not like you can't start a business in your winter, but it's understanding what elements of the business to put into place, or your career, or even family matters, or your personal relationships, how to handle what's going on right now and in the short term.
Okay, so it's not necessarily about changing what you're already doing, or, you know, changing, you know, like if you're in winter, right? You can't change the season. All you can do is change what you do in the season. Am I getting this right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And yeah, and what it is about, you know, okay, so let's say, for instance, you're in a cycle where you're coming into a period of what we would call endings. You should be wrapping up certain things and putting to bed certain things, making certain decisions that you've perhaps been putting off, and you can't understand why you've been putting off making these decisions or making changes, and you really want to start something new, but you keep finding yourself being dragged back to this decision you need to make. And if you just keep going forward with the new project without finalizing the last, it's going to drag along with you. So it's really saying, well, okay, yes, you're coming to a period where you will be starting something new, or you will be finding yourself filled with creativity. And this is not just for, you know, the year of 2018 coming up. It's also every number has a vibration. So every number of the month has a vibration. So there's a universal vibration where January is a 1 month. It's the beginning of the year. And so many of us want to start so many new things at the beginning of the new year, and we make all these New Year's resolutions, and then you don't keep them, and everybody says, oh, it's because you don't have any willpower. Well, not really. You're probably personally sitting in a 6 month, not in a 1 month. But because universally it's January, the Western world being, you know, the beginning of the new year, we all think we should be doing this new thing right now, instead of realizing that our new thing might be February or July or August, depending on where we are in our cycle. And we become very frustrated, and we start basically, you know, giving ourselves a little lashing on the back for not having this ability to, you know, go the distance or have the stamina. But if you understand where the stamina is, you can still start in January, but at least you can come to terms with the fact that you're going to find certain feelings or obstacles in your way, but you work with the obstacle and you overcome them. It's not like, you know, oh, well, I've got to wait till August to start my diet. It just, when you get these feelings that you don't really feel like doing it, or you're feeling all introspective and you're going through a period where you want to go out and network a lot. But every day when you get home or you get ready to go out, you're thinking, oh, I don't want to go. You know, I just want to be on my own. And you're thinking, but I need to. You can work with that energy and say, right, I'm actually in a period of retrospection and soul searching. So I've got two options. I can either, you know, cool down on the networking and leave it until the next month, or I can network, but I can understand how I'm feeling and maybe not go to a crowd of 80 people to try and network, and try and find smaller groups where you feel a lot more comfortable and at ease.
Okay. So it's not so, yeah, I love that, because it's not necessarily that you need to stop, because I know people are probably thinking, oh, okay, it's not a time to start my business. You know, if you tell them maybe it's August is a great time, and then people are like, okay, well, what do I do till August? It's, you know, I'm glad you're mentioning that. But I know there'll be a lot of people who are skeptical, because I grew up in the background of, you know, religion, just like yourself and quite a lot of people. And so the whole idea of numerology and law of attraction, everything that we know now and we're learning about now and we're developing, people are quite skeptical. What's your take on it, and how would you sort of explain to people who are skeptical?
Well, it's quite interesting. We're going to go about it in a very different way, because I think there'll be a certain amount of people and ladies, I hope, because I really love working with women, that will be attracted naturally to this because they've already started on their journey. So they've started on a journey of personal growth, they've started on a journey of discovery, a little bit more enlightenment, a little bit more consciousness and awareness. But this can help a lot of people just even understand some things that's happened to them in their past, and position them on the road to their own futures. So we're going to be doing something that's a little bit off kilter, a little bit different, a little bit left of center. But in order to introduce the concept to a wider audience, or get a wider audience to understand it, we're starting a YouTube channel, which will be Why Did You Do That? And what we are doing is, as a result of that, what Chris has been doing is using a lot of famous people as test cases, politicians, reality TV hosts, film stars, pop stars. And when you see them in the news and they've really mucked up, I mean, you know, so-and-so's been cheating on his wife or her husband, or, you know, some politician just can't keep his mouth shut. And, you know, boy, if we've got some of those lined up. And then we're actually going to create it as short stories, as in, so for instance, you know, why did you do that, Donald? You know, why did you do that, Wayne? You know, why did Wayne Rooney do such a stupid thing, put so much at risk in that moment of madness? And people will just go, oh, well, that's the way he is, and he's just a cheater, or he's a this, or he's an idiot. But instead of just name calling and throwing it out there, what we've been doing is actually researching and seeing where they are right now. And that way will give you an example of, well, if you look at what they do and you can quantify it, and it's actually very interesting on numerology. I mean, years ago, I studied basic numerology with somebody in South Africa that co-wrote the book, The Human Pin Code. And this is where the interest came. And then if you go online and you Google numerology, you'll get to a lot of very, what I would call lightweight, kind of a bit astrology based, and, you know, what's in my stars, what do my star signs say? And really, if you go deeply into all of these, they are actually sciences in their own right. But people only ever see what's on the surface. So it's really just looking at, well, you know, well, if my birthday is on the 13th of August and I'm a 4, and Kim's birthday is on the 4th of December and she's a 4, you know, then are you saying we're supposed to be the same because we're both 4s? So, you know, and it's like, well, no, it's very unique to you in different ways, because it's put together by your name, because you are named by your parents. And your parents most of the time put a lot of thought into your name, or somebody has impacted on them. Even today when people name people after TV stars or film characters or something, there's something within that character that has appealed to them that they are almost imprinting into their child in terms of their name. And then how you relate to, you can go even deeper in how you relate to that name. Now, your name is Kimberley. And, some of us call you Kim, but professionally you're Kimberley Drummond. So you can actually analyze your name, but it would be your birth name, and what you were almost contracted to be on a numerical and numerology basis. And then bring in Kim as your known name or your nickname, or how you introduce people how you introduce yourself to people on a more informal basis. And all we do is say, this is what we see. In this year, did something impactful happen to you on a family level, a career level? And we're one of the few couples who have studied and gone into numerology that have looked at both the conscious and the subconscious, the top and the bottom, and looking at both the personal. Most numerology only ever focuses on your personal life, not on your professional life, and looking at you in your world and in your life path. And of course there'll be skeptics, because anything you don't understand, you will think, what is this? It's hocus pocus. But with Chris's scientific background, it is researched, it is presented in a way where, and it's also not us saying, this is the only way. It just fits in with these success principles that perhaps have not been working for you or for your business or for maybe your child or your husband or even your team. So that you can understand, because it's kind of like, I can remember when I was first studying coaching, and they start telling you about the subconscious mind, and they start telling you about your paradigms and your programming, and you're going, oh yeah, I'm sure. And the impact of unprocessed negative emotions, don't be stupid. I'm a very educated, I'm a very well-read girl. I've been studying this stuff. That's not me. And still it starts to sink in, and you start realizing, well, it is me. I am experiencing these things. I do need to process this stuff that's hanging around in my past.
Absolutely. And I think it's so important to realize that. I come from, just like Chris, a scientific background, and I like to look at things in a quantum level. So when we're talking about law of attractions, everything, if you look at it in quantum physics and you look at quantum mechanics, it all makes sense. And I guess it's uniting all the knowledge that we know, because we like to keep things separate, that sits over there, just like in business, right? We keep all our heads. We've got a business head, we have a friend head, we have a wife head. We've got a head for everything. So I guess, it's great that you and Chris are putting this thing together and, making it based on all your experiences. And I think that's important. I love the holistic view that you guys have.
Well, it is so important because, as you say, we kind of keep ourselves separated. We were chatting about this the other night, how do we present our business page? How do we present ourselves on our social pages? And it's just kind of trying to go, well, what's private is private, but you're still part of the same person. You are still the same entity. And what I find so interesting, Chris is actually now looking for somewhere he wants to do a PhD in this. So he, two of the greater writers on numerology who only share so much on in their books, one was an astrophysicist and the other one was a PhD in human behavior. So, these are not what they would call, what the more practical people call, the woo-woo degrees. This is not a degree in, human spirituality or, it is a real entity. And as we find the world is almost speeding up in its ability that you and I are talking to each other across thousands of miles in real time in this moment. And we want everything to be quicker and faster, but we also need to actually preserve almost our own psyche and sanity by understanding more about ourselves and how we react to situations. We cannot stop anything from being presented to us. We do not control that, but what we do control is how we react to it. So if we've got more and more tools in order to do that, it can only assist us. I mean, if I look at past mistakes that I've made myself, if I look at past behaviors that I wished I'd identified sooner, but it's all part of my journey. So it all actually happened at the perfect time. But I do believe we want the answers to our own questions. For years, we've been asking or answering someone else's questions about us, when really they're only viewing us in their model of their own world, whereas we were trying to then measure up to their model of us, of our success. What does success look like? You know, what success looks like for some person is, you know, a wardrobe like Kim Kardashian, you know, property like Sir Philip Green, and hair like Mad Boris Johnson or something. Whereas instead of just what are we looking at for ourselves? What is our model of us and our success? And, you know, and that's sort of where we're coming from, and learning from our own mistakes. So instead of focusing on somebody else's mistake and highlighting theirs, it's like, well, this was our mistake, our lesson, our journey, our learning. So this is how we've taken this, analyzed it, understood it, and presented it to you as the next person to say, what do you think about your own mistakes? If you want to go into next year, we're all going to make mistakes. We can't learn without them. But it's, you know, how heavy do you want the impact to be? How severe a price do you want to pay?
Absolutely. And I think, you know, you hit the nail on the head, because we're looking to all these gurus, all these famous people, all these people out there, and wanting answers, you know, and you go to one guru, and I see this a lot on social media. One person says, brand yourself. Someone else will be like, no, brand your company. Someone will say Facebook ads are the way to go. And someone will say Instagram. Someone will say Pinterest. And then you sit there and you're completely confused as to, like, what do I do? Who do I listen to? You know, and, you know, how do I go about this? So if you're listening to maybe one person in coaching who's doing NLP stuff, and then one person in social media, it might be conflicting information, and you might end up doing nothing or being overwhelmed. And I see that a lot with people. So I think this pin code thing is really quite interesting, and I think it's going to really change the play really in the new year for all of us, you know, and just having a unique plan for us. I like the sound of that, you know, a unique plan for me that has nothing to do with anybody else. That sounds amazing.
Well, that's the thing, because, you know, you hear everybody saying, oh, you know, you're unique, you're special. So, you know, all 500 of you in the room follow my recipe. Well, you know, sorry, I'm unique and special. But it's about saying, well, this is the recipe, and this is how I apply it to make my chocolate cake. This is me, this is Suzanne, and this is Kim, because I have seen so many people invest hundreds of thousands in this material, and they've absolutely been distraught, because often people spend money they don't have to get money they really desire, and then when it doesn't work for them, it's absolute desperation and feeling like that they have failed, that they are losers. And it's not that, it's just have a look at where you are. So now you know where you are, take that material, because the material and the recipes from all of these gurus is really, when you look at it, most of it is very good. You know, you get a few that are perhaps, you know, a bit fly-by-nightish and not the best. But fundamentally, when you look at the core information they're all selling, it's very similar. If you deconstruct it, they're selling you, you know, the principles of, you know, setting a goal, focusing on a goal, taking action, you know, focusing on it, you know, more positive thoughts than negative thoughts. So all those things are absolutely, you know, fabulous. This is not, your pin code is not saying to you, oh, all of their recipes are really rubbish. You know, you're never going to get a cake out of them. Bake my cake. No, this is a recipe. This is a master plan for Kimberley, saying, Kimberley, next month or next year, this is what you're going to experience energetically, emotionally, consciously and subconsciously, on your personal level and on your professional level. So now take everything you had planned for next year and fit it into this basic plan of how you're going to be feeling. Because I mean, if you're going to be feeling a time of introspection and you wanted to go off on a world tour, you're going to find it hard to cope with that world tour unless at the end of every day or at the weekends on that tour, you have time out for Kim, you recharge, you become introspective, and then you can balance the introspection with the job at hand. Mm-hmm. But if you don't know and you're on this world tour, you're going to try and work out, you know, why am I feeling so shattered? Why am I hating every minute of this world tour? Because there's perhaps too many people, it's too loud, I feel lost. Well, you know, and it's because you really wanted to be introspective. Or, you know, heading off on a 28-day retreat somewhere when you are in your most creative, most people-orientated, you know, period, and you're wondering why you can't relax on your retreat or on your holiday. So that's what it's about. So you apply all your business principles and whoever works for you, because it's really the context of each of these gurus' material that's appealing to you, because most of them, the principles are the same. So then you've got the context of the material with the context or essence of who you are. Mm. And that's why this overwhelm occurs, because whatever you're doing, you're not actually really in flow with all the energies around you on a universal level. And it took me years to work out, you know, what do you mean in flow? I'm probably one of the most go with the flow people you're ever going to meet. I will just go with it and adapt and change as I go along. So if I'm going to go with the flow, why not? But actually, it's just being in flow with what's around to be able to apply it to making my year a success next year.
Brilliant. I love that. Go with the flow. You know, and when you were talking about the gurus, I was just thinking to myself, and, you know, if they're all saying the same thing, you know, it's all the same thing. They've created a recipe that works for them. So each of them have got the information and they've created something that works for them. And I guess that's where, you know, doing the things at the right time works, you know, and sometimes it can be a situation where, you know, it's not working at the right time. But I was thinking about the baking. You know, when you're baking, you can have all the ingredients, but if you put them in the wrong order, things can go badly wrong. So it's important to. I'm
here.
Oh, sorry. It's just saying I'm unstable. I'm not sure what's going on. It's on my end. Oh, technology.
What do you mean we're unstable? It is, because when you look at baking, you know, it's every time you put the ingredients together, if you put them together in a different order, in a different order, you're going to get a different result. Now, sometimes if you leave one out, you'll get a complete flop. But if you put everything in, you're always going to get a cake. Because that's what a cake is. So it's like an acorn seed or an orchid bulb. It will grow an orchid. But when you're looking at so many ingredients, which makes up the whole part of us as human beings, you know, we are not human beings on a spiritual journey. We are spiritual beings on a human journey. So we are impacted upon by the emotions of others as well as the emotions of ourselves. But the impact that somebody else's emotions have on us is actually a direct reflection of where we are right now in our present, impacted upon by our past and in our cycle. So, and it really is, who are you, when you go back to those gurus and their recipes, it's who you are resonating with right at that moment. So, you know, for many years, because I didn't graduate high school, you know, I started out by reading the Dale Carnegie books, by, you know, How to Win Friends and Influence People, then just reading, researching. I mean, the internet was the best thing that ever happened to me because it just gave me so much access to so much information. And, you know, then having the interactions that we did through Bob Proctor, through Bob coming to South Africa, through coming out to the Matrix, through doing Thinking into Results. And all these things are really just ingredients into making me the best coach, teacher, strategist that I can be in order to help somebody else, either who is beginning their journey or in their journey, reach that next level and reach that understanding. And then finding something where you can actually say to somebody, you know, I don't want to be your coach for 20 years because then I'm really not doing my job. Mm. You know, being a coach to somebody is enabling them to step forward, to be successful. But there are different ways to work at it. So saying, you know, now that you know how you have worked for a year with me, that's wonderful. You can go forward using the PIN code, which is a sort of like an annual renewal. So you would get your PIN code, you'd get your diary, but you're not being beholden to another year's coaching fees, which I think is very important for two aspects. A, if I am with that person year after year after year after year and not actually seeing a huge shift in the change in their life, I'm not helping them. I'm just enabling them to rely upon me for executing the insights. And that in turn is preventing me from helping the next person or the next group or team in a business from doing something. So you're not sort of sharing the knowledge. Yeah. And that's why we've really taken the time to build it in such a way that, you know, yes, of course, I love clients and I love coaching, but I don't want you to feel that I'm going to be hooking you into the next upsell for another year or the next upsell. You know, if you want to have a session with me quarterly so that we keep, that's fabulous. But to just keep somebody ongoing for 10 years, then I don't believe I'm a good coach. I'm not a good teacher if I'm not helping somebody like that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that's the key, isn't it? It's about taking action. It's about moving forward. What would you say, I mean, to people who are actually listening to the video right now, what action can they take to help them progress? What key steps can you key tips that you can give today that they can action immediately? Because I love all about action and taking action.
No, that's great. And I really am all about action. And, you know, it is the most important thing to do, because I think the worst thing that happens to all of us is that we feel stuck and that we can't get our way out of being stuck. And, you know, wherever you are at right now, whether it's on a personal level or on a professional level, you know, take a moment, sit down and just ask yourself a few questions. Sit down and ask yourself, you know, what am I struggling with? Then when you identify what you're struggling with, ask yourself, and I mean, the answer will pop straight into your head, Because the minute you ask yourself a question, the first answer that comes into your head is the right one. So when you know what you are struggling with, you know, is what I am struggling with the symptom or the cause? Most of the time it's the symptom, because the cause is a little more buried. But ask yourself some questions and then really start looking at, how do I want to take action? I mean, first steps, you know, if you've never had any coaching at all, or if you've never had any exposure to something like what I'm doing, then research a bit of material for yourself. Look at, you know, basic things like, do I have a goal right now? Have I, you know, do I know what I desire? Because when you've worked out what it is that you desire, you can set yourself a goal. So those, and I know these are the basics, but before saying to somebody, oh, you know, absolutely, come to me, you know, come visit my website and let me try and sell to you, which I just find is often the wrong thing to do, because you might not be ready for me, and then what I can offer you is so foreign or so against where you are right now that it may spoil me for you for life, which, you know, I wouldn't want to do. But do the basics first. You know, if you are feeling lost and aimless, you know, do you know what you desire? Have you set yourself any goals? Have you in any way been disciplined about looking at how to set this up, how to do this? You know, and it's not just for business women or businessmen. This is around, you know, career women or women who are in jobs where they feel that, you know, oh, I'm in a dead-end job. Well, if you say you are, then you most definitely are. However, how could you get out of this dead-end job? Mm-hmm. What job would you like? Is there a job within the company would you like? Set yourself some goals and targets. Go and speak to HR as being a target, saying, I would like to grow. I mean, a lot of companies provide great training budgets and would love people to grow, but people are scared to go and do that. So it really is, you know, taking it down to, I'm not a person for using the word want, because you just get more wanting when you want something. But I like the word desire, because a desire has a much better emotional context. I mean, when you were growing up, I mean, when I was growing up, my mother, you know, I want doesn't get. I want one. If you really think about it, it's true. It's what would you like? What would you desire? Look at the energy. Want. The minute that you say want, your shoulders go down. I want that.
And it's very selfish, wanting, because doesn't necessarily mean you need it. You just want it. So
yeah. And where is and it's a low energy word. You know, if you think about it, it's a low vibration. Want, your shoulders move down. Desire's got a much higher vibration. It's got a much higher frequency. So, you know, your basics, what is your desire? Have you set a goal? Have you been working towards it? And if those answers are no, then you start there. If your answers are yes and you haven't got there yet, it is, you know, what am I doing that is self-sabotaging myself? What behaviors can I identify myself? Because you can do a lot of this yourself without going to a coach. And this is not to knock coaches or lose any money for coaching, but the more you can help yourself to start, the more benefit your coach can be to you when you get your coach. I mean, if I came to you and said, well, Kim, I'm thinking, I want you to be my social media coach and I'm going to start a business. Okay. What business are you going to start, Suzanne? Oh, I don't know. I was thinking about, well, I'm already wasting your time and my money. Mm. So it's like going to a travel agent and saying, I want to go on holiday, you know, hot, cold, summer, winter, wet, dry, you know, where do you want to go? Europe, America, you know, these things. So once you've identified the basics and you've ticked those, yes, and then you identify the next one and you say, well, you know, here's some ways I'm self-sabotaging myself. You know, can I change that myself? Can I work on that using material, reading the classic books? Then when you get to the next level, I'm at launch or I'm at plan time, what type of coaching do I need? Well, actually, I feel great. I'm really good. I want some coaching about getting myself out there. Great. You need a social media coach. How am I getting out there? oh, I've got this idea, but I really don't know, and I'm feeling so negative. So you need a more traditional coach.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you've gotten there, or you've had some traditional coaching, or you've followed a program, you've purchased a program, so whether it's face-to-face coaching, online, or buying a program, and you go, oh, it's still not working. It's a brilliant idea. Why am I not doing it? Then I'm your girl. Why is it not working? Now, you can come to me straight away if you want to. That's great. I'd love to help you, with my business background, entrepreneurial. We can help you put the whole plan together. But we really are for the stuck people, absolutely stuck. Tried everything. It hasn't worked. This is not working. Oh, I'm really stuck. And that is where we come in and say, have you ever thought of the fact that you're stuck because you're just in the middle of the wrong cycle, the wrong season? Let's show you how to apply what you want to do to what is in your life. I mean, it's like a person who's in the middle. I mean, if you think about Kimberley at the moment, in the middle of huge business expansions, but unfortunately going through a divorce at the same time. What is the impact of that personally because of what she's doing professionally? And I think she's amazing the way she's balancing it, but it cannot be easy for her. Now, because she's so feisty and such a spunky and vibrant young woman, she's going to get through it. But not everybody is like that. So on the one hand, you've got your professional and your business, and you've got your personal and your private and your family life. And, for women as well, it is a greater juggle. We've got our kids to think about. So before we think about ourselves, we do think about everybody else. And then if we've got enough energy, we try and think about ourselves instead of actually energetically protecting ourselves and being in flow and in praxis with ourselves, because then we can help and think about everybody else. We end up being lost. And I think this is the really important thing for me about what we've learned and what we've researched and understood is in saying to Kim, Kim, here's our session. I just wanted to, we want to tell you about what energies are coming your way next year. And, here's a block that's highlighted. And, April's going to be a month of quite intense family responsibility for you. Then knowing when you're planning your scheduling, you're going to give yourself a bit of a gap in April. You're not going to do a new product launch, and you're not going to do because on the personal perspective, I've got a period of family responsibility. I mean, that could be anything. It could be kids, parents, aunties, uncles, sisters, siblings, absolutely anything. And it can be positive. It's not necessarily a negative thing that we're highlighting. It's just energetically, this month is a month of family responsibility. Could even be somebody comes down with a bad flu, and you've got to take the time to nurse and look after them, or even yourself, because you are in the family as well.
And it's so important, because I don't think when we're planning launches, when we're planning product launches, because I see that a lot all the time, people planning according to the diary set out by the powers that be, right? So you've got Black Friday that comes along, and everyone freaks out like, I need to get my product launched then. But it doesn't necessarily mean that that's the right time. So I love the way this 365 pin code will work well for individuals. So when is the right time to actually launch something, even though in the calendar it might say something else, but for you it might be the right time. So I love that. I love all of that.
No, and it's about what's going to work for you. Kim, actually maybe Black Friday is not going to be a good one for you. This time this is where you are sitting at. Or if you do want to do it, this is what's in your realm right now. So in doing that, make time for looking after yourself, a bit of introspection or a bit more creativity, or realize that you know what it is that you should be wrapping up and sorted out, whether it's personal or professional, you know, and in the GSD word, way, get stuff done, get it sorted, girl. You need to get that out there. And then you might find, well, although Black Friday's brilliant for everybody else, Kim, actually a much better month for you is going to be February. So why don't you do it over Valentine's Day and have a theme for it around, love being the highest energy out there, then do your launch around that vibration. And I mean, and it sounds quite funny to me, but, Black Friday sounds quite depressing to me. And it's, I know it's, and we are full of it here. I mean, we don't have anything to do with Thanksgiving in South Africa. We've got more Black Friday sales than I've seen in my whole life this year. But, and it means nothing to us at all, but it's just become this phenomena that's spread around, and really because of the internet. But when you look at those launches, and for me, it's around, 8 out of 10 small businesses fail statistically within the first 2 years.
Yeah.
Now, if what I am doing can aid these business owners to reduce that statistic and to reduce the burden upon them, because when a business fails, it costs you money, and it's a great emotional and financial burden. So if what I'm doing, if what Chris is doing gives you the ability to plan and structure your business around when it is best for you to be doing those things. And it's like having a team member. You might have a fabulous team member that's going to lead a project for you, and they're about to go into the most chaotic 18-month cycle, which is damaging for you yourself as the business owner, damaging for your brand if it really does crash, damaging for that person to then have this catastrophic experience or difficult time whilst trying to lead the team. And meanwhile, there's somebody waiting in the wings who really is going to shine for you now if they get a chance. Mm-hmm. So this works as well on a team dynamic to strategically put the right team members in the right place, project-based, over the next year or the duration of your project. Because, often I've seen teams where somebody that everybody would have thought would have absolutely excelled in this position, in the project, has just fallen to bits. And it's a black shadow on the project and on their resume. And meanwhile, it could have been avoided because they weren't the right person for this project.
Absolutely. And I think, you've got it bang on. If you've got the wrong people and in the right places, it just doesn't work. And if you've got, so you need to get the right people, and there might be the right people, but they might be going through the wrong time. It might be winter for them, and it might be harvest for you. So you want to make sure that it's a fine balance. Now, Suzanne has a lovely gift for us, just down there at the bottom. So make sure you click down below and get your free gift from this wonderful, wonderful person. And if you want to know more, definitely, click below and get information. Find Suzanne. You can, there should be a link down there. You can get all your information that you need, and just reach out, because you never know. If you don't ask, you don't get, right? So we've all been told that.
Well, that's for sure, and just, do yourself a favor, click on the link, ask your question, pop your details in, and we just love to connect with you and see how what we have learned resonates with you and how we can potentially help you in future. But it might just give you a little bit of insight into yourself. And sometimes that's actually all you need. And it's around sharing the love, sharing the insight, because sometimes it's just one or two little insights that tweak you and get you really on the road to success in whatever it is you're trying to do at the moment. And that's the thing, and it's important. Women, we're talking about us girls now and how we do things. How does she do it? Kim, how do you do it? Thank you so much for the opportunity to do this. We have a lovely friendship, which is across thousands of miles from a 5-day seminar week that we attended in 2011. We've kept in touch all this time. We watch each other. We see what we're doing. We see the changes. And you know, what you're doing makes a difference, because for every person we touch, every person we change, you change a family and you change their friends and their family for the good every time. And I'm really grateful to you for this opportunity. And, you know, I can't wait to see all the videos. They're going to be fabulous. So thank you so much.
No, thank you so much for being here and, you know, taking the time to be here and spending it with us. And, you know, it's such a pleasure. It's so amazing that, you know, we've known each other for so long, and, you know, you just taking the time out, because I know you're a very busy woman. You do a lot of, ladies, she does a lot of things, believe me. But yeah, she spent an hour with us, you know, just telling us some information. And so, you know, get to know Suzanne more. Click down below, get your free gift, and just, you know, connect. And we want your year to start well. We want you to build. We want you to grow, and that's what this is all about. You've heard how she does it. Now it's time for you to do it. So we shall see you in the next video.